My sister took $50,000 from me for her wedding, then called me a loser and sued me when I refused to buy her a house. But I cut contact, and now she lives in misery while I bought my own home. I'm 30 years old, I work in accounting and have been doing it for like 8 years now. And honestly, I need to tell this story because what happened with my family had me on the verge of a nervous breakdown for months. I guess I should start from the beginning. Or well, not the very beginning, but from when everything started going to shit, which was like 3 years ago when my younger sister Brittany got engaged to her boyfriend Kevin. Brittany was always the golden child of the family, you know? Ever since we were kids, she was the pretty one, the charismatic one, the one who always got what she wanted. I was the older one, the responsible one, the one who got good grades and worked part-time since I was 16 to pay for college. My parents were never rich, honestly. My dad worked in a factory and my mom was a secretary at a school, so there was always just enough money, never extra. But somehow, Brittany always had what she needed, or rather, what she wanted, if she wanted a new phone. My parents found a way. If I needed books for college, well, I had to work more hours. Don't get me wrong. I loved my sister, or at least I thought I did back then. She was annoying and bratty, but she was my sister, you know what I mean? And when I finished college and got a good job at an accounting firm, I started earning, well, like way better than what my parents made combined. And of course, like a good son and older brother, I helped when I could. If my parents needed help with rent, I'd send them money. If Brittany needed something for college, well, I'd contribute. It made me feel good to be able to help, I guess. So, Brittany met Kevin when she was like 23, I think. Kevin was, how do I put it, a nice enough guy but someone who never really settled into anything. He jumped from job to job, always with grandiose plans that never materialized. My parents were thrilled with him because he was nice and treated Brittany well, but I saw red flags everywhere. The guy was like 25 and still living with his mom, no savings, no real-life plan. But hey, it wasn't my decision, right? When they got engaged, I was genuinely happy for her at first. I thought, okay, maybe this will make him mature. Maybe they'll build something stable. How naive I was, seriously. Like 2 weeks after the engagement, my mom called me. And, you know, when your mom calls you with that specific tone of voice, you know something's coming. She said, Chris, your sister is planning her wedding, and you know we can't help much financially, and Kevin doesn't have anything saved either. And we were thinking that maybe you could contribute a little so she can have the wedding she's always dreamed of. A little, she said. A little. At that moment I was earning well. I had savings because I'd always been careful with my money, and I thought, well, I can help with something reasonable. Maybe pay for the photographer, or help with the dress. I don't know. Something like that. I told her yes. Of course. I'd be happy to help. Mistake number one of many that were coming. It started little by little. First, it was the dress. Brittany wanted a designer dress that cost like $3,000. I said, okay, it's her wedding, it's important. I'll pay for it. Then it was the venue, because the hall they wanted cost $8,000 just for the rental, not including anything else. My parents called me saying Brittany was crying because she couldn't have the wedding at the place she wanted. I paid for the venue. Then came the catering. $12,000 for 150 people, because Brittany insisted on having a 3-course menu with gourmet options. Then the flowers. $4,000. The photographer and videographer, another $5,000. The live band that Brittany absolutely needed, $6,000. And it just kept going and going. Every time I thought it was over, another expense would pop up. The centerpieces, the fancy invitations, the premium open bar, the 5-tier cake, the gifts for the bridesmaids, the rental of special chairs because the venue's chairs weren't pretty enough. Literally everything. And every time I hesitated or asked if something was really necessary, my mom would make me feel guilty, saying things like, she's your only sister. She only gets married once. You can afford it, and they can't. Don't be selfish. In the end, I spent $50,000 on that damn wedding. $50,000. I left my savings practically at zero. I had been saving for a down payment on a house, but well, family first, right? That's what they'd always taught me. The wedding was beautiful. I'm not going to lie. Everything turned out perfect, like magazine worthy. Brittany looked happy. Everyone had an amazing time. I felt exhausted and a bit resentful, but also proud that I'd been able to give that to my sister, I guess. Like I thought, okay, this was a lot, but it's done now. It's over. Now I can start saving again. How delusional I was. Seriously. Like, 2 months after the wedding, Brittany called me. They needed help with rent, because Kevin had lost his job again and she was working in retail making practically nothing. I sent her $800 for that month's rent. The next month, same thing. And the next. Suddenly, I was basically subsidizing their life. And it wasn't just rent. It was, hey Chris, we need help with the car because it broke down. Hey Chris, we need money for utilities. Hey Chris, we need money for groceries because we don't have enough. And I kept sending money because, honestly, I was already so deep into this that I didn't know how to say no without feeling like the worst brother in the world. My parents never thanked me, by the way. It was like it was my obligation. Brittany didn't either, now that I think about it. It was more like, oh thanks, but I also need this other thing. It went on like that for about a year. I was working overtime to be able to maintain my own lifestyle while helping my sister. I didn't go out much, didn't buy myself anything. I was basically living to work and support Brittany and Kevin. And they kept living normally, going out to dinner, buying things, taking weekend trips, while I was paying their rent. Then came the family dinner that basically broke everything. It was my dad's birthday. I think he was turning 62, and my mom organized a dinner at their house. I went with an expensive bottle of wine and a gift. Like always, Brittany and Kevin arrived late. Also, like always, during dinner, everything seemed normal. We were eating and talking, and suddenly Brittany just drops. Like it's nothing. Hey Chris, Kevin and I are thinking about buying a house. You know, we're tired of renting, and we thought maybe you could help us with the down payment. I just sat there processing what I'd just heard. Are you asking me for help buying a house? After the wedding, after more than a year of paying for practically everything, now you want me to buy you a house? And she's sitting there like she was asking me to pass the salt. I told her, Brittany, I just spent all my money on your wedding and I've been helping you monthly for over a year. I can't anymore. And she looked at me with that face like, really? And said, but you earn well. It's not like you're going to miss it. We really need it. But that's when something in me broke. Like I literally felt something breaking in my chest. I told her, no, I'm not going to do that. I've done enough already. You need to learn to live on what you earn yourselves. And you know what she did? She laughed. She laughed like I'd told the funniest joke in the world and said, oh, Chris, stop being so dramatic. It's just money, and you don't even have a family to support or anything. You're a lonely 30-year-old loser. What else are you going to do with your money? Lonely loser. Those were her exact words. I looked at my parents expecting them to say something, to scold her, to defend me, anything, nothing. My mom looked away. My dad kept eating like he hadn't heard anything. And that's when I understood it. You know? They agreed with her. To them, I was just the family ATM, the one who had money and therefore had the obligation to share it with them. I got up from the table, grabbed my keys and jacket, and told them, you know what? It's over. I'm not giving you another cent. Not to Brittany or anyone. You're on your own. And I left. Brittany was yelling something about me being selfish as I walked out, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. I drove to my apartment with my hands shaking on the steering wheel, like I couldn't believe what had just happened. That night I blocked Brittany on my phone. Like 2 weeks later, my friend Nicole, who was friends with both of us, called me and said, Chris, did you see the GoFundMe that Brittany posted? And I was like, what, GoFundMe? Turns out Brittany had created a GoFundMe campaign asking for donations for their house down payment, and in the description she'd written this whole story about how she and Kevin were a young, struggling couple trying to achieve their American dream but didn't have anyone's support. It literally said her family couldn't help them. After everything I'd spent on her, my blood was boiling. Nicole told me she'd raised like $75 in 2 weeks. $75. Not even her friends wanted to give her money because everyone knew what she was like. That gave me a dark satisfaction. I'm not going to lie. But then crazier things started happening. Like a month later, I got a call from a number I didn't know. It was the landlord of the apartment where Brittany and Kevin lived. He told me that Brittany had stopped paying rent 3 months ago, that she'd told them I was going to cover it, that she'd given them my number as a guarantee or something. I explained to him that was completely false, that I hadn't agreed to anything, and he was furious because now he had to start an eviction process. I sent a message to my parents telling them what Brittany had done. My mom responded saying I was too hard on her, that Brittany was just going through a difficult time and I should be more understanding. After everything, I blocked my parents too. But wait, because this is where it gets really crazy. Like 2 months after that, I received a certified letter. Brittany was suing me. Yes, you read that right. My sister was suing me. The lawsuit said I had made a verbal agreement to support her financially indefinitely, that she had made life decisions based on that agreement, and that by breaking it abruptly, I had caused her emotional and financial damages. I had to hire a lawyer, spend more money I didn't have, to defend myself from this insanity. My lawyer told me it was a ridiculous lawsuit that would probably be dismissed, but we still had to go to court. On the day of the hearing, Brittany showed up with Kevin and with some texts, supposedly from me, where I promised to always help her. The texts were obviously fake. They weren't even from my real number, but she insisted they were real. The judge literally told her she was wasting the court's time, dismissed the case, and on top of that, fined her for filing a frivolous lawsuit. I left there feeling a mixture of victory and absolute sadness, like this was my sister, the person I grew up with, and now we were in a courtroom. I thought that would be the end of it, but no. Like 3 months later, my parents called me from a new number because they were still blocked. I answered without thinking. My dad sounded desperate. Turns out Brittany had maxed out all my parents' credit cards, had asked them to take out loans in their name, promising she'd pay them back, and now my parents owed like $35,000 between cards and loans, and Brittany wasn't answering their calls. They were asking me for help paying the debts. I told them no. Simple as that. I explained that they had consistently chosen Brittany over me, that they never defended me, that they always expected me to fix everything while spoiling her, and that now they had to deal with the consequences of having raised such an entitled and manipulative person. My dad told me I was their son and had an obligation to help them. I told him I stopped being their son the day they stayed quiet while Brittany called me a loser. I hung up and blocked them again. Brittany tried to contact me one more time, like 6 months later. She used a friend's phone to call me. I answered because I didn't recognize the number. Her voice sounded different, like softer, more vulnerable. She told me she was so sorry, that she'd been going to therapy, that she'd realized how badly she'd treated me, that she and Kevin had separated, that she was working on being a better person, and that she just wanted us to be siblings again. She sounded so sincere that for a second, I almost believed her. Almost. And then she said, "And as a sign that I want to change and rebuild our relationship, I thought maybe I could start by helping each other. Because I'm in a really difficult time right now with the separation and everything, and I know you've always been good at managing money. So I thought maybe you could help me make a budget, and also, if possible, help me a little financially while I find a better job." That's when I knew. Nothing had changed. The whole speech about regret, therapy, wanting to be a better person, it was all manipulation to get to the same thing as always, asking me for money. I told her, "Brittany, I gave you $50,000 for your wedding. I helped you for over a year with your rent and expenses, and you called me a loser, sued me, financially ruined our parents, and now you're calling me pretending you've changed, just to ask me for money again. So no, the answer is no, never again." I hung up, blocked that number too, and since then, I've blocked any attempt at contact. It's been like 8 months since that last call. I've rebuilt my savings by working like crazy. 3 months ago, I bought my own house. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. I paid a good down payment, and I have a reasonable mortgage that I can comfortably afford. I haven't spoken to any family member since then. Sometimes I feel guilty, like they're my family, and maybe I should try to fix things. But then I remember everything that happened, and it passes. 2 weeks ago, Nicole told me that Brittany got back together with Kevin, that they're living in a cheap apartment in the bad part of town, and that she keeps telling anyone who'll listen that I'm a terrible brother who abandoned her in her worst moment. Doesn't surprise me at all. My parents are apparently paying off their debts little by little. They sold their car and are using public transportation. Part of me feels something for them, but honestly, I also think this is what happens when you prioritize one child over another for so long without consequences. I'm okay, I guess. I go out with friends, I'm meeting new people, I'm investing in myself for the first time in years. My house is turning out really nice. I bought new furniture. Sometimes I wonder what my life would be like if I had said no from the beginning, if I had set clear boundaries when they started with the wedding requests. I'd probably have more money saved, but I'd also probably still be the family ATM. Last week I was organizing some papers and found a photo from Brittany's wedding. We were all there smiling. It looked like a happy family. I looked at that photo for a good while, trying to remember if at that moment I was happy or just pretending to be. I couldn't reach a conclusion. I put it in a box with other old things and stored it in the closet. I didn't throw it away because it's still my story, my past, but I don't want it visible constantly reminding me either. I don't know if I'll ever forgive Brittany or my parents. I don't know if they're waiting for me to come back or if they've already resigned themselves to me not doing it. I don't know if I did the right thing, cutting off contact completely, or if I should have tried some kind of family therapy or something. The only thing I know is that for the first time in years, I don't feel that constant pressure in my chest, that exhaustion of always being available to solve problems that aren't mine. And that, for now, is enough.